go, howdy. Passing a tractor when you're out in the country. One does that. It is still August 5th. I'm still out doing my thing. I'm going to report home soon and help wrangle those boys of mine. And eat some dinner. Didn't realize till I drank the whole pot. It was the double caffeine coffee. So, recovering from that, ready to eat. Having a discussion with a close friend whom we've talked about having a podcast together multiple times. And he's just of the mindset to do it a bit of a different way. And I'm of the mindset that it's like, look, I've done enough paralysis of analysis, trying to figure out best solutions, best workflows, this, that. I mean, I'm a design guy. I'm a cognitive engineer. So it's never going to stop. There's never going to be quite a best. Just something to consider, right? I'm, at this point in my life, more like the yes man, as far as like, if I can do it, I want to do it. So let's jump right in. I mentioned earlier, I haven't even spliced them together and then uploaded them. But I mentioned earlier, the guys are kind of pressuring me to do a podcast. So I'm thinking, let's just jump in. There's facilities at the libraries. I can do at least the one by me for sure. 2 hours at a time. I think it's called the Tech Lab. They got 2 boom mics. They got a mixer panel. I know there's at least an Apple computer in there with some kind of software on it. So I just got to jump in, right? But I was thinking, like, here, let's just jump in. So just putting some miles on the camera per se. I finished my route. I got to head back towards town. I was going to go the other way because there was totally a reason I was supposed to go to Lowe's or Home Depot. It flew away, like mid-thought in my route. I was like, yeah, I got like 5 or 6 packages left. This one's way out. I can go this way. I can go that way. You know, I don't know. Nope. I'm going to find my way there. So, just jumping in, like I said, the guys see that I'm willing to fail forward and fail fairly transparently. So, when I screw up, I like to talk about it. I don't like to talk about it. It's like I'm looking for that friction from other people, right? Whether it be reprimand, rebuke, encouragement, disagreement, whatever. That's what I'm looking for. People who are willing to do life with each other. So they appreciate the levity I bring to even poor situations. And actually suggested that I go do stand-up. Now, stand-up something personally I've always wanted to do and been drawn to. I didn't do it in my earlier life when I didn't have so many responsibilities and kiddos and stuff. And now, 2 things. I want to be sure that A, I'm doing it for the right reasons, much like this, these recordings that I've been doing, and not just like for myself, hey, woo, look at me. And B, I want to be sure that I'm bringing value to people, and I don't want to be disrespectful and cause people to doubt, right? But, I'll tell you what, work's been, I've either been not going or I go, and like the other night I didn't even make back gas money. So that gets discouraging for certain. So I'm looking for other ways to better use my time. For a long time it was driving. I was making a bunch of money and that was all good. Now it's just a different season for all drivers, and myself is no different. So I'm going to do what I can where I can, and my wife has now moved to a fixed schedule, so I kind of know where I need to be, on a consistent basis, which is going to provide some challenges because still homeschool, meetups, park meetups, hopefully more church stuff, community things. It's just going to be hit or miss on her schedule, right? But I've got a bunch of takes I'm bringing to the table, and I just want to talk about it, right? And I can talk to the camera, and then I can publish it, and that's hunky-dory. But unless I'm doing live streaming, which you could help with, this could be a live thing if I had at least 1,000 subscribers. Now, do I care about my subscriber count? No. Functionally, on that front, yes. From what I recall, if I were at a computer, like a laptop, on a connection, I think that's how it works. I'm able to live stream from a desktop. But for phone, they want at least 1,000 subscribers so that people aren't going live stream and doing, let's say, bad or worse things on a live stream to where it can't be shut down fast enough. There was problems with that, if you recall, a year or two ago. Supposedly, anyway. There were a couple incidences. So you can help with that. You want to see more of this? Like, subscribe, comment, share. You know the drill. You know how social media works. You know how this kind of media works. And I'm going to just try to be led by the Lord, led by the Spirit, and do it with confirmation of my brothers in Christ, right? Because they'll let me know if I'm out of line. They'll let me know if I'm misperforming, misbehaving, misrepresenting, right? I have faith in them. I have faith in y'all. You take time to watch this. The podcast thing seems to be getting a bit confirmed, at least in the numbers, because when I tend to ramble on the daily Proverbs reading, and we're hitting like 15, 20 minutes. Today, I think it's going to be almost 30 minutes, if I recall, the first half of reading and commentary, and then when it got broken, and then the second. But more people, for whatever reason, seem to watch it. If it appears to be a short video, this is my take. If it appears to be a really short video like the daily verses, right? There's some of you guys that really like that and it gravitate towards an IOU getting caught up, okay? So let's say that. But on top of that, there's my daily Proverbs, and there's a couple of people that faithfully watch it, okay? Mom and Dad, I see you. I appreciate you. But it seems that we're being joined by a couple more people, and that's fantastic. But when it goes up in minutes, I seem to go up in engagement. I have one of these. I have no idea what I said. I need to go back to that proverb. I need to see what I said. I could make some B-roll on TikTok about, look at this hateful Christian. Like, who knows? Just who knows? But one of these longer Proverbs videos has like, I think I have like 100 views. That's wild to me. For videos that typically have donut to uno views on up to, if somebody amongst my subscribers happen upon it and watch it, then we get like 2 views, okay, on a Growth Daily episode. So maybe that's not like, hey, Cheetah, do a pod. That's my God from the Clouds voice, right? Cheetah, do a podcast. Maybe that's not God speaking per se. Maybe that's just market demand, or whatever you want to call it, consumer demand talking. Whatever. I'm here for it. I'm here for you guys. You into it? Want to listen to me talk and grapple with the scripture and the spirit and life? Let's do this. So to that effect, I knew I had like a 20-minute drive back. I got my gas. We're on the way. And we'll see if my phone calls out or if it's just going to let me do the thing. I think I do have a 4 gigabyte limit. So if I had to guess, that's going to be 35, 40 minutes on this, or if it overheats. I don't think I have anything else running. I was listening to a good talk and panel on like atheism, Muslims, and witnessing, and it's in the panel part. I got to pause. I'll listen to it. I think it was Your Brother in Christ, his stream. Check him out. A little inflammatory, homie, with some of the drawings of Muhammad. I'm not saying they're accusations, but like you're going real hard, homie. And I guess there's a crowd for that, but I don't want to breed hate or contempt for my Muslim brothers and sisters, because their book confirms a lot of what our book gives details on. And they say the Bible's corrupt. Well, why does the Quran say ask a Christian? And it also says ask a Jew in some circumstances, because it's relying on the holy books. So I'm learning more about that. I do have a Quran on my shelf that I was gifted a long time ago by somebody that I was close with. And I've become more familiar with the surahs and things like that over time. Some of it is purely witness, some of it is confrontation, some of it is just, hey, look at this. So maybe we'll do that one day. The format that I want to pursue, and I've said this to many people, and just try to bounce it off of them, and I think it's being validated, is we're a panel style podcast. It's nice, and we can have a whole bunch of people. I think one-on-one works because there's no fighting. There's a little bit of give and take on it, having a good conversational flow, but there's not fighting each other. There's no third person. Like, think of a news show, right? There's like a third person to impress and to grapple with for attention and make that point. If it's two people, it can remain, I think, more of a conversation, more civil. So what I've been proposing is, I did say it. I said it in the other video. I think that was today, not yesterday. 2 hard ones. Gentlemen, 2 hard ones, right? But 2 hard ones, 2 fastidious studiers, students, or people seeking. I don't want to call myself devout, because I was going to say devout in their religion or their worldview. Someone who's ready to give defense and have a talk. Sorry, speaking of our counterpart. But he's got a bit of a different model in his thought. I want to do 2 hard ones. Entendres and double entendres included. But 2 hard questions. I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to ask me a question. Maybe we do it at the outset. Stage a question. And then, since we already know where the other person's coming from, we reflect on it from that perspective together, instead of like, you showed your cards, I know where you're coming from, and I haven't asked my question, so I can phrase it as a gotcha. So that's what I'm leaning towards. 2 hard questions. We dispense with the pleasantries and the intro, whatever we got to do. Greet each other, and state our questions that, well, I think it's reasonable to pre-prepare. I'm on the fence of, should it be like a little more extemporaneous response where, here's my question, you knew it was coming, and you knew kind of what I believe, so you could guess, or, hey, we're scheduling this podcast, this talk, you send me a question, I'll send you a question, okay, I think these are both good questions, it's going to be productive, let's do it. Then we both have a little more time to prepare, and I feel like it would at least keep us a little more accountable, because then it's like, what do you mean you don't have an answer? You had blank hours, blank days to prepare for this, I expected to have a real conversation with you. I think that would keep it respectful because it would set expectations. It would keep people accountable. Let me know if you think that's different or think it's better to pursue a different way. Actually, I better not turn that off. So the library has a tech lab that I can rent out for 2 hours at a time. Now, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a streamer per se. I don't know how to operate audio equipment like that. There's 2 boom mics. There is a mixer. I don't know, it's got some buttons, dials, sliders. I can figure that out. I'm not stupid, right? I used to mess with my turntables and my mixer and stuff like that. But what I don't know is a lot of Apple products. I don't know what the standards are. And I don't yet know because I ran in, I spoke to the ladies, and then I ran out and I didn't check the computer for the license because I had to get to my route on time. But I asked them because it's a new branch, it's small, and I was like, okay, ladies, that's like 10 grand worth of equipment, right? So is there a manual? Is there a class you want me to go to before I reserve the room? No. We wanted a class. That would be great. Hey, maybe the ladies know me because of my kids and us always going in there. You could teach the class. No. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I will be able to provide a service. I'll hack a little manual together or something. Who knows? There's some guy named Tyrese, and he had a reserve today for 2 hours. So you know what? There's at least one person that knows. Maybe we'll get together. The point being, I have facilities if I can get my kids wrangled, which, if you're watching, there are a couple of you guys that I know you'll be like, my lady could watch the kids. That's right. Your lady could watch the kids and your kids, and they can play in the library and do their thing for a little while and let us do this and figure it out and at least make the recording. So homie's about like, well, I need to be able to record on remote and reassemble it because he's got people in Colombia and people all over the world. I think that's reasonable, and I think it's reasonable to not be using like Zoom or Jitsi or something like that, which is kind of a standard, to record this stuff. I think we can do better. His research has uncovered Riverside.fm. I haven't looked at it, especially as comparative options. It provides some services. He was telling me about transcription, editing via the text transcription. I think it was local recording of the sound so that you could then upload it and edit it together instead of coordinating live. Or maybe you can do it live, but the sound is still recorded locally. I'll have to do some homework. If you're watching this and you're like, this bearded dude has no idea what he's doing, boom, you're right. So help a brother out. Even if it's like, I'm all about the school of YouTube, and that's where I'm going to go do my research, especially if I got to use a Mac, because that would have been my first choice. And some people say like, hey, use Adobe. Adobe's really advanced from what I understand. I know nothing about this, so can I just jump into it like that? Maybe. So if you think I'm an idiot or ignorant, that's fine. Post a YouTube link or something, or explain to me. Just explain it to me. That would be the easiest way. What else? So, got a facility that takes kind of the computer and the mics and stuff out of it. Got software that I can use through the library. I don't know what their licenses are again, but I will figure it out. And I got access to a couple of people that I can do it in locally. Sounds like we're going to start. So I'm thinking record for 2 hours, maybe, depending on where my kids are, what my responsibilities for the day are. Maybe we can do back-to-back, because I think they let us get off with that. There's not often anybody using this lab. There's all kinds of classrooms and quad rooms and study rooms. And then there are tons of other libraries. So like the metro system is Like, it's great. I wish Louisiana would stop embezzling all our damn money, pardon my French, and be able to do the same thing. Science centers, libraries, parks. No, that's not how the South operates. That's why I say we, that's where I'm from. We're last in line for everything. Education, we're violent, all kinds of just terrible things, right? So it's hard for me to leave this environment, but that's where family is. So perhaps a change in place coming, not necessarily a change in pace. But anyway, that's the computer, the microphone, the software solved, and the place. Because I've been struggling. If you've watched these for any amount of time, not this, but the Growth Daily, for at least the first 3 months, it was like, I promise I'm going to set up a studio. I'm going to set up a better area in my house. I'm going to get a green screen and stuff. Now, I'm lucky I got a ring light. And I haven't been using that lately, but I use it on my trip. So getting a little more used to that. But we can try it. Sorry. The ragweed and stuff's blooming, and man, am I itching. One of the takes I was floating this morning, we were talking about community, right? Early Christian church pooled resources, themselves, their stuff, their money. They put all this together, and they met each according to their needs. So that should be great with the Zoomers, right? That's awful. Sounds a lot like socialism, but it was voluntary community cooperation. It was like small circles of people. It wasn't compulsory under a government. So let's bear that in mind. So anyway, we're talking about how we all have different tool collections and stuff, and that we should be calling on each other when we don't know how to do something or need to borrow a tool that we don't have, instead of feeling compelled to run out and buy it. Or there have been a couple of the people in our house church that have been very generous as far as with their time and their house and their hosting, not just for hosting the house church itself, but for offering their time to watch everybody else's kids for a night. Hey, we got this. You guys go out on a date night. You and just the lady. That's awesome. So we need to be reciprocating, and we don't want to have like a tally. That was part of it today. We don't want to have like a unnecessary, oh, I did 4 hours. You owe 4 hours at your turn now. We're doing it to be fair, but each person can give according to what they have to each other's need, right? Pulling into yet another service. I don't know if I'm going to sit here and take deliveries, but what I'm not going to do at this point is go ahead. I'm afraid to log in because I'm afraid to stop this recording because I guess I don't know my phone well enough and haven't done the testing. So what I really should do is just head home because I'm starving, and I'm praying that there's some dinner ready. Please let there be food. This person has a bullet hole in the back of their car. That's great. So I guess at this point, it's picking a person, and figuring out who's going to go on the chopping block to be uncomfortable with me and to do this, to record it, what we're going to talk about, how scheduled I'm going to make it. My buddy's all about, he wants to script it. He wants to have guests scheduled out for weeks and weeks. I get it. But I'm looking at, I can't function like a professional. Maybe I can. I'm looking at it as like a bike. I'm going to start pedaling, and the pedals are going to keep us going, right? So we're going to figure it out as we go. And once you get up to speed, put your hands in the air. It doesn't matter because you can start. You get it. If you ride a bike, you understand. Just got to get going. Take some precautions. Be safe. And just go from there. Do what you can. And then, as what I'm hoping is I have some support come along beside me. People who actually want to see this happen will help me do those things. Or Isaiah 40:31, which was one of my big revelations like 2 years ago. Been staring at that verse, hearing it my whole life, having it quoted to me, having things told to me about it. And it's not wait like the time. It's wait like a waiter with a towel on your arm. Do the work of the Lord. Do what you're supposed to be doing. And then you'll rise up with wings like eagles, and you'll walk and not faint, and, things like that. Because God's giving you the strength. He's the wind. He's the wind beneath our wings. But it's true, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. Gears turning, sorry. Sandra Bullock math. Do I want to keep doing this right now? Do I want to just go home? My shift was supposed to end in 20 minutes, and I'm already across town. Question is, can I pause this, log in, and come back to it? We're the 26-minute mark. We will find out, okay? We've got microphones, computer place, all this stuff. I'm going to hijack a couple of my brothers in a house church in the quad, maybe just from church. Hey, tomorrow at church, we're still doing Discovery Bible Method, so I get to hold a microphone. Fun stuff. Glorified usher. So, got to make sure I have some nice cologne on, don't stink, all that stuff. The stinky dude. These days, anyway. Kind of wonder what is going on with my diet. Diet, food, health, I can rant for days on various subjects. So that's where it's like podcast time. Bet, let's do this. The other thing that's bothering me is stuff like, well, Christians owned slaves, so-called Christians, historically. Yeah, everybody owned slaves and had servants. And, there were very few standouts that were Christians and at the time refused to own any slaves or got out of it, that kind of thing. And then the abolitionist movement happened. The Christians decided we had to do away with this. However, there are more slaves on the planet now than ever. There are kid slaves. There are pregnant women. They're doing hazardous jobs and terrible things. So, to get to the bottom of what I was talking about, open pit cobalt mining is supposed to be illegal by people. It's supposed to be machinery and trained personnel, employees. You've got thousands of people, including children, mining cobalt and carrying it by their hands for this, for our phone, for our electronics, for our Teslas. That's just one thing that we need to power our society that's happening. Let's not even get into clothing. Nike's always accused. Apple with their iPhones. Like, slavery is still real, alive, and well. So we can talk about slavery in Qatar. We can talk about... We're not supposed to say the words, right? YouTube will get us, sex slavery. Which I don't even understand that. What happened to an open platform? I might have to just move away from YouTube for this. So, forgive me, YouTube, for suggesting that. But we were talking about this and the Mennonites and the Amish. It was a good discussion. I think that might be a good first podcast to explore. But here's my thing. Should we as Christians own these devices? Is it possibly to ethically source cobalt and batteries and all that in this world? Is that a job for the church to be able to do and show the world? I don't know. And I'm not holy enough or holier than thou enough to be like, I'm going to get rid of my cell phone. I'm in the world. I'm not of the world. This is a struggle. These are the kind of things I want to talk about. All right. We're 29 minutes, and only a few seconds left to 30 minutes. So, in shooting for the 30-minute goal, I don't know what my phone's going to let me do. I wonder how long it'll let me go. I'm going to unbuckle. I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to open up my app and go online and hope that there's an order for me. I'm going to take that order, and then I'm going to head home. But while I'm doing that, if I can do it, if I can just restart this video, we're going to do it. I know everybody's like, what is this? What are you going? I don't know. Earlier I thought I could do that. Maybe I had stupid fingers. Maybe I just can't do it. Let's find out. If this is it, go with God. Let me know what you think. That's really it. You don't even have to type something. If I suddenly get a bunch of likes on this video, then I'm going to understand. Like, people want to hear a crazy bearded dude talk for whatever reason. And phone says, no, we're not going to do that. So, okay, thanks, phone. I'll say maybe I can do pop-up. Let's see this. Let's see here. All right, so TLDR, I must have either A, not done it right, or B, phone won't do it. Because as soon as I hit the button to switch apps, we're done. Now maybe I could have had it split screen, but I know from experience that split screen is a problem for the other app that I was going to use or need to use. So now I've got this little pop-up transparent recording thing happening, and I'm doing that over my maps. I'm going to do these 3 deliveries. I think it's shameful how little this service has been wanting to pay per delivery. This is what it is. I'm just going to do the work, and maybe I'll get lucky and somebody will tip. Earlier that was not the case, so my overall hour was terrible. So anyway, should Christians own cell phones? I feel like, come on, what are you even asking, right? But I'm just trying to beg a question. There were all the rare earth stuff that came in to your phone. Let's start there, okay? Just the elements and the molecules that we had to get and refine and process. Silicone alone, if you are not aware of like refining silicon, I said silicone, my bad. Silicon, refining it, turning it into a wafer, being able to even get to one microchip, let alone all the processors and everything else, it's astounding, right? And then on top of that, we have things like cobalt and lithium and all these other minerals and metals and stuff that we got to mine, process, assemble, do amazing things to. People are amazing in that regard. So it's like, I like to drink coffee, right? I like chocolate to some degree. I've since found a brand, not an endorsement, not a paid sponsorship, but if you're out there watching Tony's Chocolate Only, let's talk. You know what I'm saying? I love your chocolate. It's supposed to be slave-free, like guaranteed slave-free chocolate. So, okay, like, that makes me feel good. I need to know that that's the case. I want to see it. I want to see the supply chain. But so far, I'm trying to take them at their word for it. So can we do the same thing with coffee? I know that there are plenty of organizations that do that, and fair trade as well. So can we do it with metals and minerals? One of my big things is I always joke, like, all this schooling, all this reading, the degrees, all of that, and I'm interested in being a trash man. I tumble glass to break it down and recycle it. I'm experimenting with some of that stuff. What can we do with it? How can we reprocess it? I've been collecting soft plastics to turn back into oil in a retort. Lord help, my wife has been understanding for so many years. I need to get my new retort built so that we can do that and do a demonstration. All the cardboard that I use in my garden, or that I use as fodder for the pathways, or burning to make charcoal. It's a lot. But I feel like, and that's what I've been wrestling with too, is like I want to do a series, How to Save the World. And I'm just one dude, and I got a lot of ideas. Not everybody can do everything. Not every person needs to be the garbage man, the glass guy, the compost guy, the plastic guy. everybody can do what interests them, and we can do it on a community scale. I'm real big on Dave Hackins and the precious plastics community. They're all about recycling, like PET, HDPE, and a couple of others, and they turn it into value-added products. There's a company called TerraCycle. Look them up. Amazing. All right, note 2. Phone call stops this, right? I don't know if it stopped it when it started ringing, or if it stopped it when I hit it, because by the time I accepted the call, I no longer saw this camera overlay. Yeah, please don't pull out in front of me in the Saturn. So it sounds like the kids have destroyed all progress in the living room. The living room was getting cleaned up, and the middle one decided to go crazy and defy mom. So being called because A, there's some kind of food ready, and B, Dad's gonna have to get involved for discipline. Yay. Anywho, I don't know what my last words were. I'm gonna splice this together. It's gonna be ugly. That's it. We're learning how to do long videos. We're gonna move on to shooting longer videos. We're gonna move on to editing said videos. And maybe one day we'll even get to stuff like subtitles, thumbnails, all the other stuff that goes along with this, right? So, mining to the effect of what I'm interested in, as well as what needs to be done. Think about all the cell phones. Like, yeah, there's electronics recycling and donations and stuff. You know, think about all the things you've personally, I'm not immune to this, but I do hold on to a lot of stuff. Think about all the stuff that you personally thrown away. Your electronics, cables, kids' toys, even if it was like legitimately broken and wasn't fit to be donated. All that has salvage value. It's got copper, silver, palladium, iridium, and you just a treasure trove of stuff, you know? Even down to the solder having things like nickel in it. But it's gone in the trash. What do? Well, we used to just toss it, or dig a hole, toss it in, and then cover the hole. Which wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible when it was like glasses and metals and stuff. And then along came the plastics. So now we got mountains of stuff on top of food and green waste that we should be composting. In some countries and some places, municipalities are starting to do that. But that's why it shouldn't be like a whole citywide thing. It doesn't need to be. It should be like a neighborhood thing, a community thing. Not everybody wants to keep chickens like me and deal with compost and stuff. But I do. Bring your food scraps and your green scraps and your yard scraps to my place. We're going to toss it in the chicken run or in the compost pile or whatever. And I'm going to share eggs and stuff with you, man. So, see how this works? We can all support each other like that. So, we've got 2 or 3 topics here that I've mentioned. And then on top of that, I'm just interested in speaking to people of other beliefs. I told the guys today, I am not trying to church hop or religion shop, but in my drives, I see all kinds of stuff. So, I'm extremely curious. I went to India with a Parsi buddy, and loved that, wanted to get to know more of that, learn more about Hindu and even a little of Jainism, more so than the Parsi stuff, and that's partially because they're a bit of a closed group. And I'd like to there's a Sikh temple, Sikh temple, I believe, that it turns out one of the church brothers lives right behind. So I'm like, can we go? Will y'all go with me? Will y'all go to a service? Because the Sikhs are constantly feeding not only their members, but the people, like the members of their community. And if we're talking about being a model of that as the early Christian church was, like, let's go learn from. It doesn't necessarily have to be Christians. There's knowledge there, there's stuff to learn from, and there are people there that we would consider lost. Let's go spar a little bit. Let's share our knowledge. Hopefully I will come out of that with somebody that wants to sit down with me. Mind you, I follow somebody online, Jaspreet Singh. He's a Sikh. Sikh. Now I've psyched myself out here. But I follow his financial advice. So it's not like people who aren't Christians have nothing to say or nothing of value. Let's get that right out the way. And I'm sure we can do a lot of issues on a lot of podcast episodes on alphabet issues. Let's leave it at that. All right, let's see what we got to do here, because as soon as I stop this thing, it's going to do it again. Watch. Pause. Nope. It'll let you pause. It will not let me switch apps or do whatever I'm going to do like that. Whatever. That's fine. So it's also getting dark. I'm going to splice these together. It's going to be a massive video. YouTube's going to be mad at me, I have a feeling. At least while I'm getting the kids bathed and all that stuff, I'll try to splice it together and get it uploaded so I can do it on my Wi-Fi, because Lord knows my mobile plan is going to freak out doing some of these. Another topic, I'm just trying to run through a couple things so people are like, yeah, let's talk about this. This guy's crazy. There's a bunch of stuff in the news. Whichever way you fall down on it, or fall on it, true, hoax, this, that, other thing, aliens, right? UAPs, UFOs, other beings, non-biological entities, shenanigans. Oh. Road closed. Can't get around it. Oh, nope. Backing up with these cameras, man, it's just not the same. And whenever I did earlier today, I had hurt my other shoulder to the list, because now my left shoulder's on walking. So I'm gonna invent a new burpee called the tired of my own stuff burpee, and we'll see how it goes. I think I can go this way. Anyway, all of those things. Do you think they're aliens? Like we think of it like woo-woo, like sci-fi sense, demons, something else, or like, let's chop it up. Okay, so there's that. And then here's another one. Drugs, right? Well, drugs are bad, okay? Look, there's a lot of research on things like cannabis and mushrooms. And then there's the whole, like, well, if you smoke it, look, you can smoke yarrow, you can smoke mullein. There are certain smokes that are going to work for your lungs medicinally. Okay, so let's try to give it a biblical treatment. And much similarly, like to Mike Winger's study on alcohol, alcohol was to be drank with joy to the Lord and to be enjoyed, right? So let's start with some actual scripture and some discussion like that. But two, you and I, maybe we talk about drugs differently, right? So for instance, Hunter Biden can school me on drugs that I don't do, but I know that, number one, I drink tea, I drink coffee, and I use sugar, okay, and salt. So this is one of those like scaled things, right? Because we don't like, ooh, no, this, that, and the other thing, they're bad. Well, not inherently, right? Because nothing's inherently bad. No thing is inherently bad. But it's in the way that you use it. Let's keep it simple in what we're saying. But certainly, most certainly, like you've got alcohol and you've got nicotine and you've got other things, but you will not get me to back down like white sugar, refined sugar, fake sugars, all these things, they're drugs. They're drugs. So if people can get a pass on those drugs, which, okay, here's an aside. I'm going to have to go get out and make this delivery. I got to verify an ID. I've heard, and I need to verify this, there's a study out, some people cannot process their non-dairy creamers all the way, and it ends up as a narcotic in their system. So then they become literally addicted to it because of their body chemistry. Non-dairy creamer's the devil. No, that's not how this works, right? So it's a more complex issue. That one's on me. I realized I cut myself off mid-word. But in any case, like, our food, on top of all the other problems you'll ever hear me complain about, in the way that it's been bred, selected, engineered, or worse, you know, what it's sprayed with, our processed foods contain so much salt and so much sugar. It's engineered, even like box foods and stuff, man, like, they're engineered to make us want more and to hijack our brain of like, oh, this is nutrient dense, we should have some more, when it's like nutrient poor, but it's got calories and it's got sugar. So I'm not looking for a fight. I'm not looking for somebody to be like, well, Jim, I guess you're right, you know, about this drug or that drug. What I'm looking for is a productive discussion that lets people go, huh, I didn't think about that before, in the way in which I eat, the stuff that I let myself eat, the stuff that I let my kids eat. I'm a big mean dad and a big mean uncle and godfather because I'm like, they had a cupcake. They don't need ice cream. They had ice cream. They don't need cake. They had cake and ice cream. They don't need a popsicle. They've had a popsicle. They don't need 2 or 3. You know, that kind of thing. I'm a big mean guy. On top of all the dyes. The dyes could be a whole other thing, people. See, at this point, I just let my crazy out. One of my brothers, you know, in the house church, he gets driven a little nuts by the sheer amount, the volume of my voice and the volume of words that come out of me. Got to do what the Lord has set you to do, right? So I realize I probably put together an hour already. I'm going to have to stitch all this together, it seems. If I've got 20 minutes here and 10 minutes there, and we're on like our 5th clip. I guess welcome to the first and hopefully worst episode of the podcast. So look forward to, unless anybody has a better idea, because I am open for this to be a coordinated effort. I think I'm going to call it 2 hard ones. Let's keep it with the theme. So maybe we just hit on some of these questions, these areas. Maybe it's less of a confrontation, like, hey, Jewish friend, Muslim friend, let's ask these deep theological questions, which I totally want to do. I'm a nerd for this stuff. I want to get into it. I want to get into the language. I want to get into, what does the Hebrew say? Well, what does that mean? Oh, I didn't know that because I don't come from a Hebrew Jewish tradition. I want those kind of discussions. I'm begging for those kind of discussions from y'all. But that being said, I just laid out several topics that I would like to talk about. I probably could talk about offhand. AI, on the subject of cell phones. Should we be using AI? I think that's a baiting question. But to what capacity? What's okay? What's not okay? If you really want to hear one of these things get talked about by me and somebody else, or just me do a deep dive, which I don't want to do. Like, you can tell I will do this. I'll just rant at the camera, but I feel like it's more productive when we can have at least 2 people. And although I'm looking for some adversarial conversations to be had in a good spirit, in a friendly way, I think it's just like, hold that thought. So, all right, I need to quit. I realize this is getting dark. I keep rambling. I've said more times than I can count. One thing I talked about with my dude, I keep saying that because I don't know if he wants me to be mentioning him on these videos, is, so I'm working on an app, right? And I told you guys this in another video. It's like a prayer app. Not like Hallow. We've got some different things going on. But I've been looking at the concept of where 2 or more are gathered in his name, he's there, right? So he's really latched onto that as far as the metaphor of the podcast, which I do agree with, but I also don't know that you can force it when it comes to just conversation. He's saying that by discussing as a group, we're getting the truth to come out, the knowledge. Now, I agree with that. Okay, you're not going to have me say like that's wrong. And he often says that it's like the aha moment where someone's like, "That's it, say that again," and he wants to be the person that facilitates that. Awesome. Now, where we differ is I want to adhere to, like, I want the show to be of a Christian perspective. Now, wrestle with that. Tim Ross had his podcast, and he was saying that it's not a Christian podcast, it's a podcast done by Christians. I get that. But I want to keep the focus and the perspective held in a certain regard. Because I don't want it to be about a cult of personality for me. Not that I think that I'm in danger of this, right? But it's like we're supposed to not be unequally yoked. Well, I love my brother. We're very close. At the end of the day, I don't feel like we're equally yoked on Christianity. He has a bit of a different understanding. We go back and forth. I value that. And I'm not in the seat of judgment against him. It's not mine to decide. However, I do think I can point to where the doctrines don't quite mesh. And what I'm bothered by is it's often like, should I be engaging on the level of like starting a business with this person? Because I want to know that we're both following Jesus, and I mean the same Jesus, right? Not personal Jesuses. Jesus. And maybe that is judgmental of me to say, but that's how we're supposed to judge our relationships and our friendships and a partner in life for marriage and business practices. Now, can we do business with non-believers? Yeah, sure, great. It would be a small world in a big echo chamber if we didn't, right? And again, we're in the world, just not of the world. I don't know if you quite caught the gist of where this is going. So it's like, he's looking at a name. We've kind of moved past that for his podcast. That reflects that. But I don't think he's going to use that per se. He's got a different route that he's taken. Me, I was looking at something like that for the app name for the concept. I guess more on that later. That's a whole nother thing. I do want to have some progress to be able to show some people outside of wireframing so that I can be like, hey guys, download this thing. Let's try it out. So look forward to that. I'm just having a little brainstorm here, trying to think like any other subjects leaping out at me, any other things I want to say. One of my besties is a Hindu, and he was raised in the Catholic tradition as well as the Hindu. So he's got kind of like an eclectic blend of both. Love to have him on Inspired. He knows that. Biggest thing for me is going to be trying to keep it local so we can keep it civil, have a drink together, coffee, whatever, and best hear each other's inflection and tone and body language. As well as I think that'll be the optimum audio quality. Now, as things progress, maybe we do the interviewing on remote. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. Maybe this is going to fall flat. And survey says, like, nah, we're not interested. Got plenty of Christian podcasters and YouTubers out there. We like them just fine. You go with God. Okay. Now, I will say the Spirit's going to lead me whichever way. So just because it's hard, and just because maybe I don't like it, having to do certain things like editing or this and that, I don't know yet. I'm not going to let that part guide me. I'm going to do what I think I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else I got. I'm on my way home. I think I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to stop the video. Got plenty of it to stitch up. I'll do my own kind of mental clear out. I've been saying my prayers. Grandfather came out of quadruple bypass surgery and is doing well. But, you know, I'm going to let it wash away, listen to a little music, have a little word with Jesus. Another one. I had a couple of prayers while I was driving around. I was always about praying in my head. I do believe the omnipotence and the omnipresence of God. So, prayer in my head's all good. But perspective was shared with me that the devil's not in my head. I can't be rebuking the devil or praying against bad things in my head. Because those things are in the world, not in my head. Does that make any sense? So I've been trying to be a lot better about praying out loud. Being an example of doing it, as well as like doing it for my sake. So earlier today, I had something on my heart as I was making a delivery, praying out loud. Meaning, I'm talking to Jesus like I'm talking to you. Just thinking, maybe we do a near-death experience, out of body. I'd like to hear some testimonies. You feel like you've ever met Jesus? You ever gone through an experience where you think it was him that you met? Did he identify himself as such? Millions of Muslims are apparently like seeing visions and dreaming dreams of a man who identifies himself as Jesus Christ and essentially tells them the gospel. I'm into all this stuff. Let's do this. And any suggestions, hit me up. Hey, there's a Rare Breed concert coming up in a couple of weeks, Northern Ohio. You into Christian rap, hip hop, just hanging out with other people that have interesting music taste? See you there. Go with God. Be blessed. Let me know. Questions, comments, snide remarks. I'm here for it.